Today we're breaking down Shroud, quite possibly one of the most skilled first-person shooter players ever. I'm going to analyze his skills with FPS and DOOM Eternal, what he did right, where he could have improved, and what held him back from possibly being one of the best DOOM Eternal players ever. And I'm going to use real-life visual examples in every category to help explain it. If there's one thing Shroud is known for, it's his aim. He has this uncanny ability to just fling his mouse across the pad, screen turning into a messy blur of colors, yet still landing on his target's head 150% of the time. Or he can just pop it over to an enemy and take him out, easy. It's an inhuman level of precision and ability that you won't find from any others. Let's take a look at the alphabet and car examples now. So this is the alphabet example right here. Shroud's aim goes from point A to B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, whatever. Notice how pointed and sharp he goes from A to enemy B to C, D, E. So sharp and pointed and nothing is done wrong. Now, regular people like me and you, well, maybe not you, but definitely me, will go up to B, over to C, we'll go to D, and we'll forget about E, and we'll go right to F, and then wonder why we died, and then blame the game, and whatever. And we'll go, and it'll be slower, and we're off track. We are slow, we are not precise, whereas Shroud is just like boom, 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 done. What do you think about that? Another example I'm going to use is a car example. So where Shroud is driving the car and he finds that parking spot and he just zips right into it and stops on a dime, 60 to 0 in 2.5 seconds, he passes that driving test, parallel parks right there in the middle. However, this is what you or I do. We'll go up to it, we'll hit the gas to go a little bit faster than we need, then we'll hit the brakes and jerk ourselves because we smashed the brakes too hard, and then we'll slide into that parking spot right there, we'll hit the cone and knock it off, the instructor is going to get mad. Where if we would just get our skills honed into where we could zip into that parking spot and not go forward and then back, because parallel parking sucks, but you go forward and then back and forward and rear in the next car, it's that level of precision that most people do not even have. And let's take it a step further. If using Hugo's example of the Ferrari and the Doomslayer, well, the Ferrari that he's driving is awesome, but mine's a little beat up and I might have a tire low on air and then I hit a squirrel back 2 miles ago. That's the difference we're talking about. The Doomslayer is a Ferrari and so is Shroud. And sometimes I wonder where we get our licenses from. See, the benefits of elite tier aiming all work together as one cohesive unit. You don't waste ammo, therefore you have more to kill more targets quickly, and combined with game sense, which we'll talk about here in just a second, stay alive longer. Having amazing aim is great, but you become much deadlier when you develop what's called game sense. This is when you have an acute understanding of how the game operates, what to expect, and how to react. Situational awareness is absolutely huge for this, being aware of your surroundings and predicting what will happen next, even behind you. I have a full video on that linked here, but let's take a sneak peek at some IRL examples. And remember, the longer the subscribe button's pressed on the screen, the stronger the channel becomes. So situational awareness and game sense is so important because if you can figure out and predict what's going to go on around you, you're at a huge advantage. What a lot of people do is they just focus on right in front of them. They develop that tunnel vision like this. They don't consider what's going on around them and to the side. So if I look at you as if you were my screen, just like this while I'm playing the game, and I notice there's an imp fireball off in this corner coming at me, I can leave my eyes looking directly at you and dodge. Or let's say that there is a Hell Knight behind me. If I am listening and predicting what's going on, I can dodge. It's all about being able to understand what's going on around you, figure out what's going to happen next based off sounds, and understanding why the enemies behave they do so you can use their cues. And then by the time that knight rushes you, he's dead. Shroud has literal years of FPS experience, and here's the thing. He excels at multiplayer games, where you have real, live opponents to think against, those that make human choices, decisions, and movements, making them much harder to abuse than AI, especially at the elite level where Shroud resides. And here's the thing you can't overlook. When Shroud plays these multiplayer games, the situations and risks he places himself in are greater than single player most of the time. His enemies may have this or that gun or other equipment, and he has to react accordingly with what works best. So if he can do this in games where he's facing many other real-life people behind that keyboard and mouse, where one death sets him way back, if it's like a battle royale game especially, he would have the ability to do it, thinking clearly and calmly, in a permadeath situation with AI. The human element, if I may reference the infamous Todd Rogers here, really does have much more impact than you'd think. Just look at pro Quake players like Rafa. If they came to Doom, it would truly be a spectacle. And the demons would have a really bad day. Game sense also ends up being one of Shroud's weaknesses, just in a bit of a different way. I know it sounds weird, but give me just a moment and I'll explain why and how to you. He's also really calm under pressure. It's a common trait, more so really requirement, amongst elite gamers, and it's something that separates the beginners from the best. Unlike some other skill sets like aiming, this one is not physical, but mental. This will often make the difference between life and death. In the Ultra Nightmare difficulty setting, which is permadeath, this really matters because your brain is even more on high energy and tension. See, where the beginner freaks out and loses his composure, Shroud remains calm, cool, and collected, and his execution doesn't suffer. Hey, maybe it even improves. Now, as far as weaknesses go, remember when I told you that game sense and familiarity would be coming back? Well, now keep this in mind as I talk about the next section, that everything you're seeing in the game here is from near the release. It's still fresh to everybody at this point, and he's still doing awesomely. But he just doesn't have the optimal strats down. He uses a heavy cannon as a regular gun, more than I think he normally would, staggering fodder aside, and honestly this is just a minor nitpick. He's probably more used to the mainstream style of FPS where you would let the rifle rip and tear like that, whereas in Eternal, it's, more often than not at least, better to go precision bolt or micro missiles, usually. Now, the thing that reveals the missing piece that I'm going to tell you about here in just a moment, what Shroud didn't give enough of, is time. Really, this is the core of it all, but why? Had he put more time and attempts into the game, he would have been amongst the elite. See, some of us need more time to peak than others, and some do end up going further, but I feel like that Shroud wouldn't have needed much. I can guarantee it. But I understand why he didn't. So how does time reveal the missing piece? Well, I think that if Shroud found that missing piece to the puzzle and truly focused on Eternal, he could have been one of the greatest slayers of all time. What is that piece, you might ask? If I had to pick one thing, well, it's game familiarity. Here's why. His insane aim and game sense takes him to the top, and despite not having game familiarity, he still holds his own very well. Which means that if your aim and FPS skills are a little subpar, developing good game understanding will give you an advantage. That being said, never stop working on your aim and the other skill sets. See, that's the missing piece right there. If he really broke down arena fights and their trigger enemies, which teaches you how the fights work and operate in phase forward, I have a whole video on that here, you need to watch it. Each enemy's optimal strategies to handle, worked on his weapon mods, his proper usage, his alt fire, memorized what was coming next, he would use his elite level FPS skills and mix them with the top level Doom skills. This matchup would be the best of both worlds. And I mean that the only thing they fear is him. Who should I break down next? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like analysis and commentary videos just like this one. If you become a channel member, you could be on this screen too. Click the join button below. Props to Nightmare tier Jaden. I'm Allstin. Thanks for watching.